Hi, everybody. Welcome to Defying the Oddz. If you guys are catching us live, you'll see the live button right up here. Drop a hashtag live. If this button is not here, you're catching the replay. Drop a hashtag replays. Let us know where you're watching from. I'd like to welcome everyone that's watching on my personal page, Robin Higginbotham, Higgy 2.0, and Defying the Oddz YouTube channel. Please. Again, check in and let us know where you're watching from. Defying the Oddz is my video testimonial series of people that are willing to step out of the shadows and share their stories with us of overcoming life's hardships, mental illness, addiction, any of all these catastrophic things that take our life off course. So I'm very, very grateful for all of you guys that decide to tune in and watch, share this out for us. I have a great guest tonight coming to us live from the Knockin Doorz Down studio in California. My guest is Jason LaChance. Welcome, brother.
What is happening, you handsome son of a gun?
It's good to see you. Every time I ask you to jump on, you always do. And I'm very, very grateful for you. And I've known you for a little bit of time now, and we've met in person. And I'm really honored to say you're the same person in real life as you are here. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a really good friend as well.
And thank you. Before you get it, thank you for telling me that. I think we talked about this. Is people don't know something unless you let them know. And so for you to tell me I'm the same person here as I am in person means the world. It means I'm being authentic, which I strive to, and that's the work I try to do every day, to not be full of bull, So
absolutely,
that's good to hear.
I feel the same way. We both met a lot of people, in different aspects of our lives that portray to be one way and they act another way. So it's good to meet real, authentic, genuine, kind people, and you're definitely one of those.
Likewise, my brother.
So, what's the weather like where you're at right now? Where are you?
Central California, so about 30 minutes south of Modesto. The location for George Lucas's legendary film American Graffiti. So, and about an hour north of Fresno, and it's cold, but not like Indiana cold.
Not like Indiana cold,
because my brother and sister-in-law I think are like 35 minutes from you, and so I know it's cold. But we've been foggy this time of year when the fields get cold because it's all ag area. There is no Disneyland, there is no beach right here. It is all flat ag area. So yeah, it's one of those adventure times of the year. It's like, is this a George Carpenter movie? Like, be careful. So yeah, or John Carpenter, George Carpenter.
So I know you have such a hectic and busy schedule, and I want to thank you for taking the time to jump on here with me, because you're podcasting and filming and recording all day, every day. You're editing the content for multiple platforms. Can you let everyone know which podcast that you're associated with?
Sure. So primarily, of course, Knockin Doorz Down. I'm going into the 5th year on that. Really proud, due to the contribution of support friends such as yourself and other listeners that hopefully reach out someday and just let me know what they're getting out of it, or maybe what they would like to hear. It's I hit between the video streams and audio streams 4 million. So that's
huge, bro. Huge.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to like reflect on that and be like, wow, okay, and it's helped some people. So that's what's been most important. And then the work I do with pain, parents, and addicts in need. We have the Don't Hide the Scars podcast, which you've been on there.
Mm-hmm.
And we still got to get you booked for Knockin Doorz Down. So we need
to
do that. And yeah, so those two things, a lot of busy work with that. I do a financial podcast for my friend's financial firm called Plan Solutions. So that's kind of a bi-weekly thing where, I get to dig in with him and kind of be the lay person and ask a lot of questions that we might want to know of an expert when it comes to finances and what's going on. And then I am producing some other content too, and it's just, yeah.
It's a
But
lot. It's a lot. How are you able to stay on task with everything that you do?
I don't know that I am, Hig. I don't know that I am. You know, it's this recovery stuff, man. It really is. It's the principles that, you know, I'm a 12-step guy. It saved my life. I'm so grateful for the rooms of AA. And it's a lot of those principles that have translated over into how we do life. And in addition to that, some amazing mentors, you know, and just friends, support that happens all the time. I mean, you and I text frequently. We're in a text group with another good buddy of ours. He's a very talented bearded actor, to give a hint, wink, wink for people that might know who we're talking about. And,
go ahead and name drop.
Yeah. So, Hick Jeremy, but
Jeremy.
But yeah, it's the principles behind recovery that have allowed for it. And really, as a guy that in my addiction is a total disorganized, unreliable, can't meet deadlines individual. I mean, not totally. I did still thrive in my radio career, but everything would go by the wayside otherwise. And so it's really the work through recovery that has led the way for me, you know, and I know when to get out of my own way, you know, so it's part of that journey.
Absolutely. So take us on a trip down memory lane. Where did you get your broadcasting, you know, experience? Where did you start?
I never told you this story.
No.
All right. So,
or maybe you did, and I want everybody else to hear it.
I was bouncing around a lot. I couldn't figure out after, you know, college life, you know, worked odd jobs, construction mainly, junior college for like 2.5 years, maybe close to 3, and ended up in when I graduated high school, went to Arizona State and was going to major in architecture, and that didn't work out. Ended up back home. Of course, as you know, I come from a home of addiction, but my father has been sober for over 20 years now. And I just couldn't figure out life. And so somehow I ended up with this teacher. His name was Eric Bosworth. I hope he's still alive. I haven't been able to find him, but he actually did work for Lucasfilms. He helped with a lot of the makeup design for the Ewoks TV movies. And, you know, I got to talking to him one day, and he's like, "Oh, you got a good eye. You ever thought about doing photography?" And he started sharing his story with me. I was like, "Holy geez, you worked for George Lucas?" And, you know. And so he's like, "Hey, take photography." Okay. So I did, and I won a couple of awards. And so then it was like, what should I do next, Mr. Bosworth? He's like, "Go to film school." Okay. So I'm going to film school in Monterey, California. And I'm out one night with some friends. Their band's playing, a little trouble setting up. And so, you know, this group of people's kind of gathered, and I just kind of start telling jokes amongst the group. And, you know, this guy comes up, and pretty cool dude. He had the very punk rocker kind of look, and, you know, the tattoos and the rolled up jeans. And he goes, "You're funny. You ever thought about working in radio?" And I said, "You ever thought about buying me a Jack and Coke?" And and so we ended up hitting it off and talking. And the weird thing, he actually was classmates with my brother in high school. But yeah, he asked me to intern, and I did that for about 1.5 years. And then I just fell in love with it, and then eventually got hired. And the company I was with, they're like, "We got this below minimum wage job for you here in Monterey, or you can move to Merced, California, and only have to work one job to get by." And I'm like, okay.
What a great gig. What a great gig.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved it. It was, Jesus, 24 years ago. God, I've been in Merced for 20 something years now. So radio was still pretty big, and we had the #1 morning show, me and this buddy of mine, Chris Ashton. And we were actually even #1 with men that were Spanish speaking first language. We had
kidding.
Yeah, it was, small area, but we had like 1/4 of the ratings in mornings. It was almost like nobody listened to anything else but us and this other gentleman.
They were learning English from you.
God, I hope not. It was,
so I'm going to throw this picture up, and
all right.
Give me, what's the backstory? Who is this guy?
Tommy Lee.
Motley Crue, baby.
Yeah, so that was definitely the not even sobriety wasn't even a idea at that point because it had yet to get out of control.
Look at Tommy.
You know, look at it. At that time we were sitting there, and this is probably the third time maybe that there was like some backstage interaction, and you know, so he's kind of started to remember me, and he has that, yeah, dude, what's up, man? Hey, good to see you. I'm like, when are they making the Dirt movie? And I can't remember. Can I curse on here? Or do you want me to keep it clean? And he goes, bro, fuck if I know. And I go, well, I should play you. And so he got a kick out of that. But I had some other friends in the rock world that were friends with him that were kind of going to bat for me. And, you know, I mean, Machine Gun Kelly got to play him. I wasn't even in the picture at all. So I don't want to paint some picture like I was part of the conversation.
You have some acting in your background too, don't you?
Yeah. My degree was directing for the camera, minor in acting for the camera. And I did do some commercial work after my divorce, the Bay Area, maybe 4 or 5 commercials that were local.
Very cool. Very cool. So how did you settle into your podcasting role?
Oh, so people always ask, where did you get the term knocking doors down? I go, it's not me. It's brother Carlos's. So my friend Carlos Vieira, who we do work in conjunction with his nonprofit that has amazing programs here in the Central Valley for families that have children suffering with autism, to help them out with scholarships for, you know, iPads with programs that could be really expensive to help them become more maybe verbal or communicate. I got a scholarship scholarship for kids that are heading to college, but they're doing something concerning mental health in their community, or maybe there's a struggle in their family. And then the Race to Be Drug-Free program where the Carlos Vieira Foundation provides after-school free athletics, primarily boxing gyms here in the area, where it's free to go, get you off the streets, keep you out of trouble, which has been quite successful. I mean, I've even had a sheriff on sometime near the end of last year that went through the program, now a sheriff, now coaching at the gyms, and just an amazing lady. And Carlos came to me and he goes, hey, I'm gonna call you in like 30 days time. I'm like, all right, 30 days time. Like 3 hours later, he's like, all right, so here it is. I'm writing my book. I'm going to talk about his struggles with cocaine addiction, how he overcame it, and all of it's going to profits go back to the foundation. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. He's like, well, you're always asking me I was doing a bunch of different little podcasts for fun, because you always ask if I would sponsor one. With his company 5150, the clothing brand. And he goes, how about you just do one? And you talk with people about turning their lives around, you know, primarily in the areas of addiction, mental health, whatever the struggle could be, physical health, you know, just traumatic situations, whatever it is. And so that was, almost 4 years ago, 4 whole years
ago.
So
you mentioned 5150 Productions. Yeah. In the state of California, what does 5150 stand for?
It is the penal code for an individual who is a harm to themselves or others. And it actually relates to Carlos's book, because if I'm trying to remember, and I don't want to do him a disservice, and I'm sorry, Carlos, if I'm misremembering it, but I believe it was the last time he had legal trouble. He was high and in a psychosis, as we do. And I want to say that the song, Pimp C's song, Knockin Doors Down, was on the radio. So he thought it was a good idea to go knock on doors.
No kidding.
And so if I recollect, that is the overall.
To go knock on doors.
Oops, sorry.
That is the overall connection there. And so that's where the title of the book comes from. And then, of course, the company, he wanted it to mean something else, to reframe the idea that it doesn't have to be about being a harm to yourself. It could be about doing the good, that the, for lack of a better word, the point of crazy that we can go in addiction or whatever it is, that you can take that same kind of mentality for good. So that antithesis of it, and do positive in the world. So that's where that comes from. And the brand has, you know, done so much to help so many people. Again, proceeds benefiting the Carlos Vieira Foundation. So It's
So you
pretty cool.
on Knocking Doors Down, you've had some really powerful guests. Can you tell me about this guy,
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen?
You know what? Like there's so many things said about a person, and it's just, it's just media or whatever. And we had kind of a little sidebar, and I'd asked him about a particular thing. And he said, with all the honesty that I've had about the things that I've done, don't you think I would have been honest about that too? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, so yeah, I own everything, but it wasn't this. And it was a real sign of character, because he spoke so openly and honest about his addiction, where it went, where it started, the results of it. Didn't no victim mentality behind it. Owned all of his actions.
Owned it all. That's so important in our recovery, isn't it?
Yeah. And then the second time he was on, which that picture was from the second time we spoke with him, and he really, in that one, not only did we talk about his HIV diagnosis, really wanted to kind of educate people that, hey, this is what people who are early in that diagnosis go through. This is what it's like. This is the impact upon the family, which I thought was a really beautiful thing to share. I've not been able to have that, an open conversation like that with anyone, even though I did have a family member, unfortunately, who's not here anymore. So it was great. And plus he got to express a lot of his concerns. I mean, he was talking when I was just getting educated about fentanyl. He was one of the first people really educating me. It's like, when did you first get educated about fentanyl? A conversation with Charlie Sheen.
No kidding.
Yeah. And he was right.
It wasn't your thing.
No, I was never, powder like once, pills tried, made me sick, whatever. Thank goodness I had that part in the brain that's like, this made you throw up. And it didn't say, go do it again. It said,
do it again.
Steer away. So, it was pretty much, and to steal one of Charlie's lines when it came to drinking, it used to be, you'd have the drink, you'd water it down and you'd have some ice in it, but then you figure out, water's for fish, ice is for injury. Give me a straight fucking shot there, buddy. So
right.
That's really was my downfall.
It's so important. I feel that when celebrities come out and share their story like that,
Mm-hmm.
in an empowering way, the fact that he didn't act like a victim. He didn't blame anybody for his addictions and the things he did. He could very easily just blamed it all on whatever, being raised as a celebrity and this and that. But owning it is one of the more important pieces of our recovery, right?
We have to. It's you and I were talking about this before we jumped on the live here, about really reframing the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves and our history and our life, and ditching the victim part of it is so important, especially in a society now where, I don't know, you can have a lot of that leeway to say, oh, I'm a victim and thus no need to improve or change, or, it's not my fault, my circumstances. So I just think that's one of the most key pieces that I see for people in long-term recovery is anything of victimization has really gone away. I mean, you had a tough childhood. I had some challenges in my childhood, being born dyslexic, these things are they're just there. It's just part of who I am. People that, how many of our friends are ADHD and, just people that suffer with depression, and it's a lineage of this stuff. So we all just have
significant trauma too.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the biggest factors by far, at the end of the day, what are we trying to do when we use a substance? We're trying to change our nervous system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
our coping mechanisms. I want to ask you about this one.
All right. Steve-O!
He's coming up on 13 years.
Yeah. So here's why this is significant. And I didn't get to directly tell Steve this, but a friend of mine does camera work for him on Steve-O's Wild Ride and has been featured on there. I said, hey, do me a favor. Tell Steve, thank you for planting the seed. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I had a conversation with Steve for that show. It was in Merced, California. It was so we promoted it on the radio station. And I told him, I said, hey, man, I don't know. I think I got a problem. And he kind of planted the seed. And then when that picture was taken, I was drunk. But then he politely reminded me, like, hey, hey man, it looks like you had a great time. And I bought like too much merch and everything. And he was like, thank you, man. That, he was so cool, really sweet. And he said, but if it is a problem, just know you can get help. And I was like, all right on, man. Thanks. All right.
Right on, man.
Yeah. Like, who's here? Let's go to the bar, whatever. But he was a seed planter for me, and I don't have any direct contact with him now or anything, but it was really nice to be able to pass that message along to him.
That's awesome. What about our mutual friend here?
Andy Roy.
Roy.
So I had caught his I think he's on a different platform, or he's brought it back now, Rip Ride.
I love that.
Yeah, my former co-host Mikey Naraki, who's a skateboarder, and he's like, oh, we got to talk to Andy Roy. And I knew Andy's name because he skated and grew up near where I did.
Yes.
I grew up near Watsonville, California, and he was in Santa Cruz. So it's, they like butt up next to each other. So I was familiar with who he is, but I didn't know any of his story. And when meeting him in person and talking with him, like, I just loved the guy right out the gate. Like the way he's turned his life around. He's one of those people you're like, how are you still alive?
Exactly.
And thank God you are.
He's a living crash test dummy.
Oh God, yes. I mean, knocking out his teeth and,
yeah.
And just like we were joking in that episode, it was like, the term kook and I was like, yeah, we would sit and maybe call somebody that. And he's like, yeah, I didn't realize I was, pointing this finger at some calling a square a kook. And I was the kook. I was the one that was loony and doing these things. And I was like, oh, this is so awesome. And he's like, no, it was a way to an early grave, man. And now just helping so many people. I mean, kids like going out, spreading his message that, hey, you don't have to go down. The best way not to ever fall into addiction is don't ever pick it up. And doing this at skating events and so many awesome things. I mean,
he does workshops with the kids when he's skating and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's like, man, what a inspiration. Like, I wish there was a group of kids that are like, you want to learn podcasting? Okay, come in and I'm going to give this my talk about substance abuse and trauma and all that stuff. So
that may be your next niche.
Yeah, who knows, huh?
How about her?
So yeah, Caitlyn Jenner. So Mikey that I was talking about, he's the handsome tattooed guy. If you haven't figured it out, that's not me. This was pretty early on, and this was, I think, about 4 months in through the lockdown process, and somehow we got through. And it was a personal message that I don't really totally want to share, but just about gender dysphoria and all these things, and really wanting to understand to be able to get it out. And I'm like, plus I saw you race at Laguna Seca in Monterey, so it'd be kind of cool just to see and just, BS. And so it got through, and she was like, yeah, you guys come on down, come by the house. I mean, beautiful house in the hills of Malibu. And, you walk in and just wonderful people that were there with her that evening. None of the Kardashians, but, we sat at her kitchen table, and there's the pictures of Kylie and Kendall and Kim and Courtney and Chloe and, all this stuff. And just was such a,
what was the conversation like?
I found down to earth. Like, I vibed with her really well. Like, we started talking cars before we jumped on, and I think that there was like that mutual like interest thing that was there, but really transparent and really showing how you know, for her, this was something that started way back when, and it took so long to get to where she is now in life and making the decisions that she did. And it was, I mean, it's really funny. She actually goes, you know, I've read your guys' bio, pointing at Mikey and I, and she goes, "You guys are the screwed up ones. I just wanted to change my gender." You know, she's like, "The only thing that's changed in my life is it takes longer to get ready in the morning now." You know, and so very
is she in
self-aware.
recovery as well, or
No,
it was just an interview conversation?
yeah, it was
Very
really
cool.
just that the mental health around. You know, she because when she spoke, it was, you know, it was very much, you know, when Bruce won the Olympics, I knew that I was screwed then because I couldn't hide Bruce. There was no, like, at that point, you know,
It's
she
on every
really,
Wheaties box.
yeah, she really acknowledged it as like, oh man, I, I'm kind of stuck, you know, in a way. And so it was really fascinating. Like, if you haven't listened to it, Higgy, or watched it, go back, check it out. I think
I
it's
will.
just fascinating from a psyche standpoint. And you know, you can hear that she felt a real sense of responsibility because loves her country, to be that hero, you know. And so it was that fighting of it, of what she felt inside about herself, as
What an
opposed to,
internal struggle.
yes, as opposed to a sense of duty, you know. So it was fascinating. You know, we didn't get into any of the parenting stuff, very little, other than she goes, not a single one of my kids, once they hit adult age, have ever asked me for money, so I'm proud of that. She said that's the most proud thing as a parent, that her kids have thrived. And you know, so that's it was, yeah, really fascinating. I need to go back and listen, remember what I got out of it.
I've got one more blast from the past for you.
you you should show the video of this. So Chuck was great, man.
Chuck Liddell, the Iceman, UFC
He was
champion.
cool. Yeah. My favorite UFC fights were him and Randy Couture. I mean, and that's
Yes,
really them, and Hoist Gracie, who I was able to meet as well, were like the idols of it. And Ken Shamrock, that's still probably the one guy that I'd still like to talk to, um, from those old UFC days. But it was just really cool, down to earth. You know, we really opened up about bullying and what he went through as a child. You know, situations with his dad not really being present, his grandfather really stepping up in his life, and also what it's like for him now as a parent, and really talking to his kids about the responsibility of not bullying, even if some of them, you know, these other kids are like, "Oh, you're Chuck Liddell's son, I'm going to pick on you," or daughter, you know.
right.
So it's really cool, down to earth. But that photo, so bring it back up again if you can.
Let's see here. Boom.
So there's a video of it too. And in the video, I go, "Okay, take this quick, guys." And I'm like, "Holy shit, you understand why?" Like,
You see the intensity in his eyes?
I'm not a little guy, as you know. I'm like
Right.
6'2", 6'3", and his fist was about twice the size of mine. And so that intensity with those fists staring at you, you're just like, "Okay, I'm done. I'm ready to go." You know? But it was a real great experience. We actually had an audience in the studio. I think there was maybe 10 people in here. You know, my partner, she was here, my best friend, and a couple other people. And yeah, Chuck was really cool, man. It was a really good experience.
What I just thought of something. I remember seeing videos of him choking Steve-O out. Steve-O wanted to be choked out, so he choked him out.
Yeah, not me, not doing it. I know he
Yeah, I was
has
gonna
that
say you're not
ability.
going to do that.
No, I'm not that guy.
I'm not that guy.
I'm not that guy.
So, um, if somebody's out there watching right now and just thinking maybe there is a problem,
Hmm.
what is your recommendation? What is your suggestion for someone? Just being able to reach out. How
Yeah.
hard was that for you?
I don't recollect if it was really hard to ask for help. The hard part was taking the help. And I think it's that for so many. I don't know. What about you?
I just feel like I had to, put my ego in check and just be brutally honest with myself. I had an issue. I had an issue for a long time. I have had long consequences. I have a history. And I I just had to, take a shot, because what I was doing wasn't working for me. It stopped working. It wasn't fun anymore. It was more of a job than anything else. It was a maintenance program.
Yeah.
And I was eager to find another way to live, really.
Yeah. I think you nailed it right there. I was miserable, but I was really attached to the fun party guy, Jason identity. And it was an acceptance that I had to stop people pleasing the people that enjoyed that guy that weren't really my friends, because the majority of those people are gone.
No.
They don't reach out. They don't ask how I'm doing. And I don't reach out to them. So it was really like, okay, I'm so miserable. I've got to let all of that go. And I think that's what took a while when it came to accepting the help. I just wasn't willing to embrace a totally different person. So I would just encourage anyone, if you know that point of just that misery, like it's a type of misery that I think only those of us in recovery understand,
Yes.
Or people that have suffered like a big T trauma, or, even the little T ones. But it's, it's just like, I didn't want to be miserable. So please, somebody shine the light for me.
Please help me. It's really very hard to ask for help. That point of surrender, right?
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm ex-military. I've been in prison. I've done a lot of things, and this mentality that surrender implies weakness. When in fact, when you're asking for help, that's a sign of strength, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a spiritual surrender,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if people can frame that a little bit different, that, for me, I always say the God I do business for, when we talk about our higher power, and I think it's a surrender to let something else guide me, not my ego, not my desire to fill my bank account. Although if you're financially successful in a very honest and forthright way, nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, it's a great thing, especially when you amass wealth and then help others.
That's the key right there.
Yeah. It's, and so for me, it was, very textbook in the sense of being beyond spiritually broken. Like, I believed in God. I just didn't believe that there was a God that loved me and had a purpose for me.
I feel that. I do.
So yeah, it really was the first spiritual awakening on the knees. Like, please, like, I just want to get out of my own way. I want to stop being a victim. I was such a good victim, to the point of like gravitating towards people like that common energy, that trauma bonding, and people that I could continue to find an excuse of whatever. Well, hey, we were doing manual labor work and we worked real hard. Nothing wrong with this, splitting a 30-pack of beer after that, or I had all
it's bonding, right?
Yeah, I had all the justifications. My neighbors were my dealers. It was like, and they didn't even know it, because of drinking holds a different social standard. Where, I don't know. It's like, if people go, oh, you don't smoke crack cocaine, well, yeah, that makes sense. Whereas if you don't drink, well, why not? What's going on with you? And so it was. There's a lot of that stuff, a lot of that mentality.
So you've basically been in the communication business for a long time. In coming into recovery with your personal relationships, how has learning to communicate changed for you?
Especially now, really, I've noticed a change in the last. When was I in Wisconsin?
Earlier that it was
Spring?
spring. It was March, April, wasn't it?
Was it? Was it almost a year ago?
Yeah.
Damn. Wow. Time
It was
flies.
summertime. It was summertime.
Okay, so summertime. Yeah.
June. I don't remember.
I don't either. Here I am asking.
I remember it happening. Dates I don't remember.
Yeah, we had a good time. That's
did.
all I recall. A good sober time with amazing people. It was really, I was able to get a couple of gentlemen that went from indirect mentors to mentors, and a lot of that taught me shut my mouth and open my ears. You know, what's the saying? You got two eyes, two ears, and one mouth. There's a reason that you know. And so for me, a big thing that's changed is not running my mouth. Not because I have an amazing imagination. And I know that some of the stories I tell, or I'm a storyteller, so I'm going to paint a big picture to make it more entertaining,
For sure. Embellish it a little bit.
Embellish a bit. So for me, it was letting go of a lot of that. Not having to be a center of attention person. Matter of fact, I kind of get people, including yourself, that get on my ass like, no, it's okay because you're doing it now for the right reason.
Promote yourself, dog. Come on.
Yeah, but it's a lot of that. So for me, the biggest communication change was becoming a better listener.
Absolutely. I agree with that 1,000%. What about, and for me in the communication thing, being honest. I had to do exactly what you're talking about. Just be honest and not try to be more than who I am, and being genuine and authentic and being willing to, take feedback and constructive criticism from time to time. Right.
Yeah. Oh yes. We have to really learn to do that. And I find that the vast majority of people that are in recovery that I've had personal interactions with their feedback is gracious and empathetic and kind, even when it's straightforward, which I appreciate very much because, it's like, yeah, we've got to be coachable in this thing.
Absolutely.
We've got to
remain teachable.
Yeah. Because there's always something to learn, right?
Absolutely. And if we have ego problems, we're not really hearing what someone is saying. And for me, I need that brutal honesty because if it's up to me and I have to read between the lines and figure out what's being said, I'll fuck it up.
Yeah. I'm that way in life. Like I just
take what you need, leave the rest, right?
Yeah, I think I was talking with Cassandra and I with this conversation, my partner, about being.
How is Cassie doing? How is Cassie?
She's hanging in there. Good. We had a tough end of the year, as you know, losing our dog and dog that she had rescued and losing a dear friend. So we've kind of, it's been the processing of grief, which. A totally different thing when there is no crutch anymore, like you said. Right. These coping mechanisms.
Raw dog in life, right?
That's right. And it's a beautiful part of the process. It really is. As much as you go through the hurt, you also understand what you learn from loving a family member that's a pet, because they really are. Or my friend Ryan, just a salt of the earth, like. You meet people and you're like, the world is a better place because you're in it. And yes. He was one of those people, a man with long-term recovery, just a fishing guide. I mean, he took my kids out for their first catches, which is great because we get on his boat. We're at one of the lakes here. There's so many wonderful. That's one of the things I do like about where I live is the nature. So when you come visit, we'll get some scenery and for sure.
Coming this spring, by the way.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Yeah. We'll get out to Yosemite. But we're out there on the lake and he's like, my kids, we're going to catch something. I think my daughter caught 8, my son caught 7, and I got 0.
Way to go, Dad.
Yeah. But to have, and and it's just so tough when I know I wasn't the only family, and he took underprivileged kids and special need kids out, and so many families for the same experiences that I did, the thing that he loved so dearly and gave him purpose, and was such a God-loving man, an amazing husband. It's hard when you lose that, but you try to hold on to those things. It's
how did you navigate that and not get lost in it?
Being vulnerable with my partner primarily, and others, and he was on the podcast twice, as a matter of fact, but I re-released the last episode he did with me, and did a little tribute at the beginning and put it out commercial free, because it wasn't about that. It was, I just wanted people to hopefully in that hour and 15 minutes that I think we talked, see the same beautiful person that I did, and feel some of that, and I think that's the stuff that we get to leave behind. I'm not, Joe Rogan kicks my ass what I've done in 4 years in a week and a half with listenership, if not better, I'm sure. But that's also ditching the ego and the competition that like I have a potential to be a part of a thing that this gentleman chose me to be so vulnerable, open, and honest in wanting to help others that can live on. And, it's like, he's like a Jedi. He's got a Force ghost. He's gone fishing, and it's still out there. The love is still out there, and I mean, what a beautiful gift to have come through your life.
I think that's important, instead of grieving the lost, celebrate the time that we had with our loved ones like that.
Yeah.
Those memories will live on, that ripple effect that they created in our universe, and the ripples not only touched us, but it touches other people as well. And working through us, we touch other people. That's what the beauty of a ripple effect is, and having a beautiful soul in your life.
Yeah. So it's, and being sober helped. I know that grief thing was tough for me, because the last major loss that I can think of offhand that I had was my best friend's mom that I've known since I was 3 years old. And that one I did not handle so well. That sadly was all the reason.
Relatable.
Yeah. Was sadly all the reason I needed to go back out, but yeah, wanted to, keep doing things differently.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about mentorship. Who are some of your mentors? Do some name dropping, because I know that you're pursuing a path to becoming a recovery coach.
Yeah, I have helped a few people.
You helped me out.
Well, of course, you're my brother, man. I loved you the first time I talked to you. I was like, oh, this guy. I don't know. It was
Likewise,
there.
Likewise, we connected.
God, there's so many of them. I would say the two gentlemen that are most present at this time is Flynn Anderson, who I work with at Pain Parents and Addicts in Need.
I can't wait to meet Flynn.
Oh, you'll love it. He's a character and a half. He's just an awesome dude, and he is who he is, and he doesn't pull punches, and I appreciate that about him. And he's educated me so much.
The opiate king of Fresno.
Yeah, his addiction was pretty damn gnarly, man, and the behaviors that went with it. But really educating me just on the treatment process in general, because he does own a treatment facility as well. So it's been really beautiful to sit under that learning tree and understand, he navigates, I don't want to say a certain type of, I'm not a politic guy in that I just like, look, if you're not doing the best for the greater good, then like, I don't know. And he navigates those people really well and knows how to talk to them and knows how to get shit done and help get stuff done and talk to some of those change makers in that space. And so that's some wonderful things that I've been able to sit under. And then I'd say the other is Mike Diamond, been on the podcast 3 times, the only person that's been on 3 times. Twice is just him. And then recently he co-hosted with me with a dear friend of his, Darlene, who was going through a traumatic loss of her husband due to suicide. And yeah, he's just he's basically my sponsor without me asking him to be. Because he's just there. He's just there for me to reach out and bounce some stuff off. I mean, Jesus, near 2 decades of sobriety, and I think he's 16 years or just got over 16 years. I can't remember. And just that wisdom that is there. I mean, he's a brilliant interventionist. He's going to be on this upcoming season of intervention, and he
no kidding.
Yeah, he just helps so many people. And it just, again, that was where it goes back to the closing my mouth and opening my ears. He's one of those people that very much was that. When I finally got together with him in person, it was ask him a question, and then I'm going to sit back and just listen. When am I going to have? Yeah, when am I going to have an individual, captive in my car, so to speak? Where I think we were driving around for half an hour or so, like that. Like, don't waste that time by running my mouth about me and a bunch of bullshit that he doesn't care about, because it says nothing about who I am as a person. So let's just sit and listen. So he's been big. Adam Jablin. I don't recollect if you've talked to Adam at all, but great book. Excuse me, Lotsaholic. He was kind of a garbage can guy, but a high achiever at the same time.
That's a pretty well-known individual.
Yeah. And so I've been very fortunate that in his busy time, and then, I throw Dr. Rob Kelly in there as well as drop
Dr. Rob. Love him.
Yeah. God, who else?
I met Matt Gardner through you.
Oh yes. Matt has been, I was going to finish with him. So I'm going to go the 5th person here, Greg Champion. Startup Recovery. That's actually where I got my recovery and coaching certification, through him, through his methods, his mentorship. And he's another one of those people that, I mean, he lives in LA, got tickets for Pearl Jam in Fresno, calls me and goes, "Hey, you told me you've never seen Pearl Jam." I'm like, "Yeah, I love them, but just never happened." He goes, "You're meeting me in Fresno tonight. See you there." And it's just to develop friendship with such a beautiful person. And then to close with Matt Gardner, I mean, I met Matt through this, Mr. Recovery Roadmap, and he helped me so much with reframing the stories I told myself about myself, especially with that victim mentality. And matter of fact, we just recorded an episode today that'll be coming out in a few weeks, just prior to me celebrating 3 years of continual sobriety.
What's that anniversary date?
The 15th of February.
I knew it was coming soon. I remember last year when you did your live.
Yeah. We'll figure something out again. But yeah, Matt,
I'd love to have you both on at the same time one time.
Yes. Yes.
Topics, question and answers and stuff like that.
Please. He's brilliant. Seriously, I don't know if he's by chance watching. Leave a comment in there, Matt. Let people connect with you. He's a brilliant individual who really inspired me to see in myself that ability to maybe be that Phil Jackson for somebody and be there. So he's, just such a wonderful person and just, a real different approach and mindset that was presented for me in recovery.
For some reason on the app streaming, the comments aren't coming up. And I just glanced down at my phone, and Tim logged in.
Oh, Tim Lodgen.
Sorry for the mispronunciation. He said my feelings are hurt.
Tim,
I'd love to speak with you as well, Tim, for sure.
No, Tim, I love you too. And I think Tim and I are pretty close in our recovery date. I mean, I got a little more time in the sense of, I've had a few years under my belt, then fell off for years and stuff. But that is a man that's like, total just commitment to his recovery. And I mean, facing some really, really hard stuff personally, to be able to look it dead in the face and just go, "No, you're not winning." And I have the utmost love and respect for that man. And I hope we have not met yet in person, but I hope not only to break bread with him, but do something. You know, I think we need to, there's a lot of us that want to, you included, get some kind of recovery summit going of some kind, something that's a little bit different than just sharing our stories. And he's definitely a person that I would want there and present.
Tim commented March 5th.
March 5th. Okay. I knew it was, a couple weeks difference.
Congratulations, bro. Johnny Childress, I see you, bro. I love you, man. Bradley Bagwell, I'm sorry that you're sick with the COVID. Yuck. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, chiming in. I want to give a shout out to Jamie Boyd. When I was struggling, she was always in communication with me and encouraging me and, just building me up when I felt so worthless and lost and broken. So thank you, my friend. I really appreciate all the love and support. And I can't tell you, even Jason, he was in communication with me as well. And, just the fact that I was able to be honest with someone, tell them where I was, it opened me up for, receiving, some positive feedback, some encouragement. So if you're out there struggling and you're in relapse, you happen to see this broadcast, just know I truly believe that one of the first steps is admitting it, unloading that with someone that you trust, so that you can move forward and get yourself out of that deep, dark hole.
Yeah.
So where can everybody find you, Jason?
At my house. The address is, I'm just kidding. Easiest way. Let's see.
Where are you predominantly?
In my skin.
In my skin. Comfortable in my skin today.
Few Instagram accounts, at Knockin Doorz Down, at Pain Nonprofit. And then if you want to reach me personally, you can search Jason T. LaChance. And the handle for that is at No Outside Solutions. Yes. So I finally own that because I am working on some stuff. People have heard the slogan. A lot of people, I've had a few prominent people like, oh, I'm using that. I'm like, you don't put out merch because I'm going through the trademark process for No Outside Solutions to Inside Problems.
And I have the shirt.
And you have one of them. So
yes.
So we'll hopefully be getting some different kind of stuff out there. I know Pastor Pat, our mutual friend, was like, hey, I wear a lot of sweatshirts. Can you get a hoodie going? So I want to, hopefully get some things going with that where, can reach out, kind of talk with you about what you've done with your nonprofit and see how, even a clothing line can be structured to maybe, the profits help those people that are in need of treatment and, the money runs out with insurance companies the way they are. That's some of the stuff that if you wanted to get me pissed off is the delusions of, oh, he got a fentanyl addict into treatment. Great. We're going to give him 15 days for detox and residential, kiss horrible. My ass. Yeah. So, these are some of the plights that are out there when we're really trying to help real recovery happen because there's not much of it. So that slogan, your encouragement, I want it to mean something more because I truly live by it. I know that now there is no drink, drug, person, substance, amount of money that's going to fill that void that's within my heart if I don't do the work internally. So that's absolutely what it's all about.
Found a spiritual solution to our chemical problem.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So are you on TikTok as well?
Yeah, you can find it's I think KDD. If you look Knockin Doorz Down, you'll find it on there, and then at Pain Nonprofit for every platform: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. It's all there.
And the big old YouTube.
And YouTube, yes, please, yeah. Go subscribe.
And you're streaming on all podcast platforms as well, right? You have a phenomenally successful. Just people love what you do. That's why you have the streams that you do. You have amazing guests. You have a history of creating beautiful content. You really do.
Well, thank you, Higgy. You've always been so awesome to, share with people. There's been times where I'm down and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And you've basically, told me, not in these words, get your head out of your ass. I guarantee you that episode that maybe in your ego was telling you, oh, it needs 10,000 downloads and it didn't reach that. It helped a person.
It's all about that one person we're trying to reach, right? Hopefully somebody catches this tonight and feels some encouragement, got something from your words, that it's lived experience we're sharing, and proof that you can overcome these, self-defeating behaviors, mental illness, these addictions, anything that doesn't serve you anymore, you can put it down and move on and have a life of purpose for sure.
Yes. I can't stand the saying of, people don't change. You're a sign of that.
Once an addict, always an addict.
Yeah.
Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic.
Exactly. You're a sign that people change. I'm a sign that people change. We meet every day with people that have made significant change. And so, you can. It's like the Rocky speech right at the end of Rocky 4.
Yeah.
If I can change, you can change. Everybody can change. The guys in Russian. No, so see, and we can.
Man, thank you for being here. We're coming up on the hour. I know you've had a long day. I know the things that you do during the day and you're jam packed. So it truly means the world to me that to get a visual on you and just have a nice conversation,
Likewise.
and encourage folks to want and do better for themselves.
Yeah, likewise, Higgy, man. I just love you. You've not only coming into my life, improved my life, but introduced me to other people who have, and it's
what it's all about, right?
Yeah, it's so cool to
the networking piece.
Yeah, just drop somebody a message or them drop you one and just let them know you're thinking about them or vice versa. And it's been a cool journey. I like this way of life much better.
Yeah. This is the easier, softer way, right?
Yes.
So everybody would please jump over to Knocking Doorz Down on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Please give them a like and a follow. Follow my man, Jason LaChance, on his personal profile. I'm really encouraging him to put more content out personally because he's got a wealth of knowledge and experience, and he's got a very wistful way of presenting, some really, really cool concepts, and just it's very poignant and on point. And I can relate to everything you put out, and I love it. I love the quality of work that you do as well, and you're always willing to help. So thank you again for being here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you. I'll jump into the comments after we get done here and wrap it up, but thank you guys for being here. This is episode 4 of Defying the Oddz with Jason LaChance of Knockin Doorz Down and Don't Hide the Scars podcast. Love you guys. Thanks for being here. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.